Peter, recap for us exactly what the Justice Department is charging here.
They're charging that the 5 publishers, together with Apple, conspired to fix prices on these ebooks. Now, they changed the model of pricing around the time that Apple introduced the iPad in early 2010. And as a result of that change of model, alleges the Justice Department, most of the ebook prices went up from $9.99 to $12.99 or $14.99. So they say consumers were hurt by this.
Tell us how this model was structured. They're deeming it an agency model. There's some emails, or at least one email from the late Steve Jobs that was included in this lawsuit. Walk us through what that agency model is, please, Peter.
The key point about the agency model is that the publisher sets the price of the book. And in fact, they had an arrangement where Apple gets the best price, so you can't sell it any place less than they're selling it on iBookstore at Apple. And so with the publisher setting the price, Apple takes a 30% cut of the publisher set price. Now, traditionally, if you go to your bookstore, and even in ebooks until this new model was introduced, if you go to the bookstore, it's the bookstore that's setting the price, and they pay a wholesale price to the publisher, and then they set their own price. So that's the big difference.
And this allegedly occurring, of course, at a time when books on Amazon for the Kindle were being driven down to around the $9.99 price point. In terms of the publishers that are being named in this suit, Peter, walk us through those, please. There are 5 of them?
There are 5 of them, and then 3 of them have agreed to settle the charges. So you have this very interesting divide. 2 of them are prepared to fight it out in court along with Apple, and then 3 of them have agreed to settle the suit. And they're saying they'll cancel their pricing arrangement with Apple, and they'll allow retailers for at least 2 years to set their own prices. So that allows Amazon, if it wishes, to go back to these $9.99 prices.
And we were just looking at a screen a moment ago. Maybe we can bring it back up with the 5 publishers who were named. That included Simon & Schuster, HarperCollins, who of course is owned by our parent company News Corp, Penguin Group, Macmillan, and Hachette. Peter, in terms of, there's a press conference later today. Who will be holding that, and do we have any sense of when that will be and what the contents of the press conference will be?
I think it's happening right now, and Eric Holder, the Attorney General, is going to be there. That's a pretty unusual move, actually. Usually it would be the head of the Antitrust Division who would unveil this kind of lawsuit, but clearly the government takes very seriously this notion that the publishers were getting together in a room, actually a high-priced restaurant in Manhattan, according to the lawsuit, and as the government sees it, conspiring to raise prices. Now, the publishers, especially the ones who are challenging the suit, I'm sure will have their own view of this. And
alleging that there were no attorneys present at some of these meetings. And speaking of attorneys, we're going to come out to Ashby Jones now for some analysis. Peter, thanks for this. We'll be coming to you throughout the day on WSJ Live and WSJ.com after that press conference. Appreciate you being with us. So, Ashby, paint this sort of legal picture for us here. How big of a deal is this for Apple?
Well, I think there are 2 ways to slice this. I mean, is it a big deal? Yes, unquestionably. Anytime you go up against the government with antitrust allegations sort of at stake, it's a big deal. We remember what happened with Microsoft back in the 1990s when there were talks of breaking up the company, et cetera. That's not going to happen here because this is in the big scheme of things, a relatively minor component of Apple's revenue stream, right, their entire business. At the same time, Apple is probably the deepest pocket in American industry these days. They're going up against an even deeper pocket in the U.S. government. So it's not a position that anybody would want to be in. The government tends to play hardball. Right. They play to win these cases. They don't bring these cases unless they feel like they've really seen something that they don't like. So Apple has chosen to fight. All the best to them. I think both sides could be in for a long, protracted fight here.
And of course, there's the public relations standpoint for this as well for Apple.
Absolutely.
Going forward, let's talk about the companies that are inclined to settle in these negotiations. Who are they again? And do you think this is a smart move on their part?
Well, there are three of the publishers, and what'll be interesting will be to see if they turn around and help the government with this case. I would view that as possibly a little bit damaging or dangerous to Apple, that you have 3 turncoats, so to speak, who have decided to take themselves out of the game and settle. Now, I don't think we know the terms of the settlement now, so we don't exactly know the kinds of stakes that are at play here. One thing to note about antitrust cases is that the damages, which can ordinarily be huge, I mean, they're talking about $2 or $3 on every ebook sold, by Apple over a period of time, that adds up pretty quickly. With antitrust, you get triple damages. That's built into the law. It's a relatively punitive thing, but you take whatever number they come up with, multiply it by 3, and those are the damages. So the numbers could really escalate here, even for a company like Apple.
And in terms of the defense strategy, do we have an inkling so far of what that will be?
Well, we don't, and I think that viewers should be cautioned. I mean, right now we just have the DOJ's complaint. This always happens where, you know, the DOJ comes out and says, you know,
boom.
boom, exactly. And then you've got to wait. And then slowly the story starts to change, or you hear different takes on things. Apple, they hire the best lawyers in the world. They will definitely come back with something strong. But for right now, the allegations seem pretty damaging. A lot of times when you get allegations like people in the back of a smoke-filled restaurant or what have you, talking about setting prices, or you know, this is sort of leaked out. It's that kind of granular sort of anecdotal detail that plays well in front of a jury, and you know, could be very damning to Apple.